Good morning everyone. My name is Sarah Doherty and I'm the Marketing and Event Coordinator here at Hornbill. I'd like to welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar where we will be having a presentation on simplifying the challenges of modern ITSM with Hornbill Service Manager with Manish Dave, Relationship Manager, and Connor Hamilton, Product Specialist. Just to inform you, Delegate Auto will be muted during the presentation to help facilitate flow and timekeeping. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the GoToMeeting questions facility on the right-hand side of your screen. We will collate questions and answer them at the end of the presentation. Thank you for taking the time to attend. I will now pass you over to Manish and Connor.
Hi there everyone, thanks for joining our webinar today. So as Sarah said, today we'll be taking you through how Hornbill have helped simplify the challenges of modern service management with our new cloud-based solution, Service Manager. I will begin by looking at some of the key challenges that we've identified and addressed in Service Manager. I'll pass over to Connor to take you through a demo of Service Manager in action, and then we'll finish up by looking at our commercial offering, some of Hornbill's key differentiators, and our Supportworks to Service Manager migration package. So to begin with, Hornbill have been in the ITSM industry now for over 20 years. We've used experience in the industry and the feedback we've received from our customers who we supplied Supportworks to identify a number of key challenges associated not just with Supportworks but with other traditional ITSM software that's out there. The number one challenge we hear about all the time is upgrades. They're expensive, they're time consuming, and can be quite a painful process. We always hear from customers who plan on upgrading, but for one reason or the other, the upgrade project gets delayed, and it leads to a big gap between the version you're on to the latest version, which of course makes a more complex, costly and time-consuming project. Supportworks is a traditional piece of on-premise software whereby Hornbill will release a new version, you download it, you test it, and you deploy it to a live environment. But the point here is you have to stop what you're doing in order to upgrade. So we'll show you how we've made life a lot easier in Service Manager. Customization. A lot of people bought Supportworks in the first place because it's so customizable. But it is a double-edged sword because the more you customize Supportworks, the more difficult it becomes to support. And then going back to my original point, upgrade, because those customizations often need to be reapplied or re-implemented at the point of an upgrade. Complexity. So Supportworks is a very powerful, feature-rich tool, but it does require a high degree of knowledge and expertise. And this leads on to training, which can be time-consuming and costly. The situation we often hear about is when a Supportworks administrator or a solution champion leaves the organization and the replacement does not understand the tool as well, and it leads to a gap in knowledge on the service desk. Usability. So again, Supportworks is very feature-rich and powerful, but if we compare it to the kind of apps that we use outside of the office, we'd say it's not particularly intuitive. For the most part, the communication happens actually outside of Supportworks. So we'll log a ticket in Supportworks, but you'll be speaking to your colleagues, whether it's via an email or an instant message or a conversation, to assist you with resolving problems. And reporting can be quite a challenging area too. And all of what I've mentioned leads to a high total cost of ownership, whether it's upgrades, consultancy, training, costs you may not think of, such as the infrastructure costs, the electricity cost to host a server, the cooling costs for that server. And we're all looking at ways to make our spending more efficient. So Hornbill had a eureka moment, or a light bulb moment if you like, where we looked at the challenges that I mentioned that we've identified, and we looked at how the world has changed with the mobile and cloud revolutions. And we used that to create a collaboration platform that allows your teams and colleagues to work together in a much more modern and intuitive way, where information that matters to you comes to you. On our collaboration platform, various applications are available today. We'll be concentrating on Hornbill Service Manager today, but various other line of business apps are available, including Customer Manager, Document Manager, and Configuration Manager. Now these applications can work standalone, or they can work side by side to leverage each other. So how have we innovated? Well, we've married best practice service management with familiar social and consumer mobile concepts to create a system that allows you to share knowledge and ideas, collaborate no matter where you are, getting more done in less time and from anywhere. You can work across any device, whether it's a laptop, a mobile, a tablet, a PC. It's all browser-based. We also have native iOS and Android applications. You can work from anywhere, and language is no longer a barrier. So I mentioned earlier that in Supportworks, for the most part, communication actually happens outside of the tool. So you will log a ticket in Supportworks, but you will be asking questions of colleagues, whether it's an email or a conversation by the coffee machine or an instant message. And that information and knowledge is effectively lost. It's not reusable. It's not stored in Supportworks anywhere. And it's that type of conversational knowledge that's difficult to document that we refer to as tacit knowledge. And we're really trying to tap into that in Service Manager. And we're going to show you how powerful that can be during our demo. Tacit knowledge is in contrast to explicit knowledge, which could be things such as FAQs, procedures, policy documents, the type of knowledge that you'd put into a knowledge base. And we'll also show you how we've addressed that area in Service Manager too. A very important point before we begin the demo. As I mentioned earlier, Supportworks is a traditional piece of on-premise software. What that means is Hornbill will release a new version, you download it, you test it. If you're happy with it, you deploy it to your live environment. But you have to stop what you're doing in order to carry out the upgrade. Service Manager is a true cloud service. What that means is we'll release a new feature, you have automatic access to it, you don't have to stop what you're doing, it just is pushed out to your system automatically. It keeps getting better and better using a system called continuous deployment. Similar to what you're used to on Facebook or Google. You don't stop what you're doing to get new features, they happen automatically. What that means is there are no more complex and costly upgrades. All of the updates are automatic, keeping you up to date with the latest features without any service disruption and customizations that keep on working guaranteed. So on that note, I will pass you over to Connor to take you through Service Manager in action.
Thank you very much, Manish, and thank you very much, Sarah, for that wonderful introduction. And good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. I am going to show you 3 different views of Service Manager today. First of all, I'm going to start with the self-service, so the end user view, what your customers will be able to get in touch with the service desk about. I'm then going to flip over and show you the analyst view, so the standard day-to-day service desk view, and then I'm going to flip over and show you the administrator view. So bear with me. There's a very good turnout this morning, so any questions, please put it into the webinar question section and we'll address them at the end. Right, so this is the self-service. This is what the end user would see on your service desk. I'm currently logged in as a gentleman called Steve, and Steve has access to various areas of the business. And I say business because Service Manager is equally at home in facilities or HR or finance, as well as IT. As you can see here, we are displaying all the different services that Steve is currently entitled to. And this is connection with, as I mentioned, we've got finance, we've got desktop support, home working. There are a couple of services that are currently impacted, and these can be seen on the impacted tab, and they're also clearly marked with the orange label in the top left corner. We can put messages underneath that badge in the top left. For example, in this one, an issue with our VPN client has been identified, and there'll be an update here at 4 o'clock. Steve may have already been using this portal and therefore has already logged many requests against different services. Those requests are highlighted by a number in the top right of each service. And if Steve has any services that you use frequently, he can favourite these, so they will be front and foremost on his portal when he first logs in. There are bulletins flashing across the top, which are only relevant to the services that the logged in user is subscribed to, just to let the customer know about pertinent information about that service from the service owner. So iOS update available, the Hornbill service portal. If I flip through, there is an issue with the link service, so the supplier is currently investigating. So just to let the customer know what's going on before the customer gets in touch with the service desk. So if we take a hypothetical situation, Steve is working from home and he has a problem with his VPN. Steve will be able to access the self-service portal because he can access this anywhere, anytime, as Manish mentioned at the start. But let's say Steve isn't 100% sure where to go to find this VPN service. He has the ability to search using a federated search, which will search everything related to the services the logged in user is subscribed to. And if we hit search, this will go away and search the entire self-service for anything related to VPN. It will then split it out into the different categories. So known issues, FAQs, catalog items, and any existing requests. If Steve did know where to go, he can obviously go through. We know that this is currently an impacted service, so we can click directly into the service as well. It'll be the same difference. Against this service, we've already talked about the bulletins. The service owner is pushing out information to the self-service portal to let customers know there is an issue with the VPN clients, and there'll be more information available here on the self-service when it is available. Because they know there is an issue, the service owner has the ability to push a workaround out from this known issue to the self-service portal to try and get the customer to fix it themselves and carry on with their job. There is also the option, rather than going through and making Steve log a whole other ticket to tell them about the problem that the service owner is already aware of, we have the option to click Me Too, and this will add Steve in as an interested party to this existing known issue. So from Steve's point of view, he's letting the service desk know that he's also experiencing this issue, and from the service desk point of view, they can see that Steve is also experiencing this issue when they run a report or see how many customers are affected by this particular issue. If that wasn't the issue, Steve is just looking for a bit more information. He would like to self-help. He'd like to find out an answer to a frequently asked question. The service owner can push out information to the service FAQs to try and get customers to help themselves before they get in touch with the service desk. And this could be in the form of hyperlinks, videos, images, whatever you guys feel would be useful for your customers. Customer can come in and say, yep, that was helpful. You see how many times this particular article has been viewed. Any existing requests would be under the request tab, and then if still Steve needs to get in touch, the service owner has split out this service into 3 catalog items in this particular case, but obviously it can be as many as you guys want it to be. Each one of these catalog items will ask a different set of questions, and most importantly kick off a different fulfillment process once it is logged. In this particular case, we can schedule a callback for one of the support team to give Steve a call back. We can request a VPN client setup, and we can say that we're having an issue connecting to the company's network. So in this particular situation, I'm going to carry on and click VPN access, and what this will do is kick off an engine called Progressive Capture. Now this is very similar to the self-service wizards in Supportworks. It's just a newer, cleaner interface, quite simply. But the most important factor of this is it's one question at a time, and it's very, very quick and easy for the customer to get in touch with the service desk about their particular issue. So what is the issue you're experiencing? Error codes, I'll keep it simple, cannot connect. Hopefully your customers give you a bit more information. Click next. These are the assets that are currently linked directly to Steve, but if Steve wanted to search for a shared printer, for example, or any asset in the CMDB, it might be on a different site today, he can. But in this case, VPN issue, we'll say it's something to do with our laptop, and click finish. You have a brief validation on the right hand side with the breadcrumb trail, and then it'll come back with a reference number and heads up display. So this is your fulfillment process. Whatever process you guys want, this is highlighted across the top there, so Steve can easily see what's happened and what needs to happen. Everything is in the timeline directly beneath the details. The questions and the answers, the assets that have been linked to the particular request are all there underneath the collapsible panels. If Steve wants to update, he can easily put it in there and post, and if he wants to attach a file, he can drag and drop or go via the old-fashioned choose the file way. So that's the self-service side of things. I'm going to flip over to the analyst side of things now, and I'm logged in as a gentleman called Graham. Graham has the best rights at the moment, so this is the news feed. This is what an analyst would see when they first log in. But before I get into that, I just want to draw your attention to the notifications in the top right. These notifications can come via Hornbill, as we're seeing it here. They can come via email, or obviously you can pick these up on a mobile as well. But the incident that we just logged over on a self-service has been assigned to Graham's team. So Graham has a notification to say this particular incident has been assigned to your team. We can click directly into that incident if we want, but before I get into that, I want to show you how the services on the self-service portal that we were just looking at are configured. So I'm going to stick with the home working service, and when we click into the service, you'll probably see all the things that you'd expect to see against a service configuration. The catalog status of this particular service, the users or groups that are currently subscribed to this service, and obviously this can be entire companies, entire departments, internal, external, or specific users, completely up to you. The teams that can actually support this service. So I mentioned service manager is equally at home with facilities, HR, finance, whatever the case may be. So this rights and roles driven way of thinking will easily accommodate multiple departments working from the same system, with automatic partitioning using this supporting teams mechanism. The owner of this service, the access to this service is private, so only people, the supporting teams, can access this particular service, and obviously as we saw on the portal, this service is currently impacted. When we dig into this particular service, we can see that each call class can have many catalog items. Each one of these catalog items has its own set of questions, which we call progressive capture, which I'll come to in a second, and its own fulfillment process. If we wanted to add languages, that's absolutely fine, we can, but as you can see, each one of these catalog items, as we saw on the self-service portal, will ask its own set of questions and kick off its own fulfillment process, whatever your fulfillment process when you get your instance of this system. Any existing requests that have been logged against this service are shown under the Request tab. Any assets that may underpin this service are shown under the Assets tab. And frequently asked questions, as we saw, are configured here. We can see as the service owner or the administrator how many likes, how many views this particular FAQ has had, and then any bulletins that we want to publish to the self-service. Something we've introduced very recently is this configuration manager, and what that will give you is a graphical view of all dependencies of all the different records in the system. So the dependencies against this particular service, as you can see, it's a mixture of assets, changes, different call classes even. If we wanted to reduce the noise there and get rid of the requests so we only see the assets that are linked to this particular service, we can. We can have bidirectional dependency, so we can see which way the impact would be going, and if we wanted to expand on one of those particular assets, again, we can. So very, very easy to see the dependency for each one of these. Now, before I get into actually logging a ticket, I wanted to show you how these bits and pieces are actually configured. So I'm going to flip over to the admin side of things. Again, I'm using Chrome. I'm logged in via Graham, and this is the administrative side of things. So it's all web-based again. And the two elements I want to show you are the business process, the fulfillment process that's kicked off when the ticket's logged, and then the questions that are asked when either an analyst or a customer actually go to log a ticket. So first of all, I'm going to start off on the process side of things. Now, you guys know as Supportworks customers, these can be difficult to get your head around in Supportworks. There's lots of tabs, lots of lists. We've introduced a graphical BPM tool, but I think you'll agree this is a bit more modern, shall we say. So everything's graphical. It's all drag and drop. If I wanted something to happen at this particular point, I'd simply drag from that decision node, and I'd want an authorization or a human task or an automated task, whatever I fancy at that particular point. But probably the best thing about this business process tool is that it's non-prescriptive. As Supportworks customers, you guys will know that every request has to have a response timer and a fixed timer. An email can only be sent when an action happens, like an update or a log or a resolve call. With this tool, it's completely up to you if you want a timer at all. If you don't need a fixed response timer, you don't have to have a response timer. If you don't want to send an email until an analyst picks up the ticket, you don't have to. It's completely up to you. It's non-prescriptive, and it's however you want to work can be pushed into this particular tool. So in this situation, this is the change process. This is an example change process. We do ship with example processes out of the box, but obviously we will go through this with you as part of your switch on. So in this particular process, we have an impact assessment at the top. There are three possible outcomes, completely definable outcomes, but in this case we have three: high, medium or low. If it's high or medium, we need a backup plan, and then eventually we'll gather some more information about the risk and impact, and it will go down to authorization. If it's a low outcome, it will go straight down to authorization. The authorization, very, very similar to Supportworks in that we have a waiting level. In this particular situation, imagine this is the cab, we have 3 named users. This could be a variable, a change manager or the manager of a group, or the customers manager, for example. And in this particular situation, anybody who gets there first will authorize this particular request. So that is the process side of things, and obviously you can build whatever you want, and we will go through this with you as part of the switch on. But the flip side of logging a ticket is the gathering of the information. So the number one point of this is for the customer to be able to, well, for you guys to gather the information you need to be able to deal with this request without having to chase the customer for more information. So again, we try to keep this as intuitive as possible. It's all graphical, all drag and drop, very similar to the process side of things. But it's one question at a time. So we've taken a leaf out of your favorite consumer applications. So we believe that anybody should be able to walk in off the street and find car insurance online or book a holiday online without any need for training, any prior knowledge. So exactly the same, we tried to keep it as simple as possible for anybody to pick this up and get their query across to the service desk. So each blue node is essentially a question, and then based on the answer to that question, it will ask a different question. So the end user, the person logging the ticket, will only ever see what they need to see based on their previous answer. This is a more general situation, so eventually going down the flow chart here, it could be a finance related question, and obviously we can ask whatever we want. What's the type of the query, the reference number, or it could be a new starter related question. What's the name, what's the job title, what's the department, etc., etc. So this is obviously your system, so you can ask whatever you want to be able to deal with any particular catalogue item. This is exactly the same for the analysts as it is for the end users, and as I say, we try to keep this as simple as possible so anybody should be able to pick this up. So how does that look in the system? Now, before I get on to logging a ticket, I just want to quickly talk about the home view for most analysts, if you will. So this is the service desk view in Supportworks, and again, I'm logged in as Graham, so these are all Graham's incidents. At the moment, Graham has this set as his home view. It's very easy to set a different home view if you want to. Graham has the rights to see all of these different call classes, and again, everything is roles and rights driven, so you only ever see what you need to see based on your rights. If you didn't have the right to see changes, you don't see the icon at all. If Graham wants to see all of his tickets, regardless of call class, we can click on the All button. Graham may be a member of different teams, so if we want to see all of the changes in the change team, we can, or if you want to see all of the tickets in all of Graham's teams, we can. Very, very simple. So in this case, there are 133 requests. There are quick links for the status of calls. We also have a quick filter in the top left, so we can quickly sort through lots of information. So if I wanted to find all VPN relays tickets, for example, and type VPN in there, and there are all the VPN relays tickets. If I wanted to find all of Brian's tickets, and type Brian in there, and there are all the tickets where Brian is the owner. So that's a quick filter to quickly sort through lots of information. There may be a need, however, for a more permanent view. So active high priority incidents is probably a very common one in most service desks. But as you probably know, with Supportworks, it can be difficult to set up this kind of view. If you don't know the database tool, you don't know what to filter on, if you don't know the DACE dictionary at all, where to add these kind of filters in. So we've tried to take that complexity away with Service Manager, and it's completely codeless, and as long as each analyst can create their own views, so as long as you know the view that you want to see, it should be very, very easy to build with a simple clause builder. So in this particular case, the active high priority incident, priority is high, request type is incident, status is open. Simple as that. If I wanted to add in where, let's say the owner is Graham, I'm logged in as Graham already, so keep it like that. So it's as simple as that to build, and then if you're not happy with it, it's as simple as that to remove. So very, very simple to create these views, but not only that, off the back of these views, oops, I don't want to change the filter there. Off the back of these views, we can create charts. Apparently it has been updated. So we can see the same information, but represented graphically. So those active high priority incidents, you might want to see where they're sat by team, who the owners are for these active high priority incidents, or even where these active high priority incidents are originating from by site. So we can see there's one from Hong Kong, one from Leeds, one from London, for example, and there's 20 still to be labelled. So what that will give you, obviously you can have many views and each one can have many different charts off the back of it, but what that will give you is a button at the top right to toggle between the standard request list and your personal dashboards. So as I mentioned, this is a graphical representation of the same information. All of these are personal to each analyst, so each analyst can have a different view. We can drag and drop these, we can make these bigger or smaller. It's completely up to you how you want to see these, but most importantly, all of these we can click into. So these are the 20 active high priority incidents in the first line team, and there they are. We can click in, see that information in the standard view. Once we're happy, we can export the list, we can refresh the list, and if we want to, we can set that particular view as your home view. If we want to flip back, we can press the home button and flip back to our preset home view. All of the columns, very similar to Supportworks, can be clicked on and sorted. But if we want to add columns or change columns, we simply click the cog in the top right, and let's say we want to see who created this particular ticket. We want to see it second. We can simply make it blue, drag it to the second, and there it is. We can even distinguish between the fields that we see on a mobile or a tablet or a small screen, as it says there, by simply clicking on that mobile field. So that is the request list, and again, just very quickly, I know I've said this a few times, before I get into actually logging a ticket, another way in, we've talked about the self-service, we've talked about the request list, but just very quickly, we have the standard mailbox functionality here. So very, very similar to Supportworks, we have a shared mailbox that will link in with your Exchange server and pull the emails into the system. And from there, we can raise a request, we can update a request, we can track time, which is a brand new application we recently introduced. This will start the timer. This will track how long you have been taking to do a particular action in the system, and it will automatically update the timesheet manager and give you or your manager a graph to show exactly how your time has been spent throughout the day. In this particular case, in this particular situation, this is running automatically. We can pause that, which we do there, or we can apply it to the timesheet, or even set our own time if we want to. We also have the autoresponder functionality, so we can automatically log and update tickets based on particular preset logic when a ticket comes into the mailbox. And as I mentioned, we can also log tickets if a customer rings up. So let's just have a hypothetical situation. Steve is ringing us up to say there is an issue with his printer. Let's just say he's got a printer problem. So first of all, with Supportworks, it's a very common situation. Steve rings up, we open an incident form, we fill out his name, we fill out what he's calling about, and then we realise it's not an incident, it's a service request. So at that point, do you ask Steve to repeat himself? Do you copy and paste into a service request form? It's a common issue. So if we know that Steve is calling about an incident or a service request, and we have the rights to see these call classes, we can log a service request directly. But if we don't, we've addressed that particular issue with this concept of a raise new button. So let's say Steve is ringing up, we press raise new, and we say who's calling. We say it's Steve Robinson. Is this the right Steve Robinson? We have a summary on the right hand side. Are you calling about an active request? If not, we hit next. These are all the services that Steve is subscribed to. So if we wanted to select a particular catalogue item, for example, under Mac support, we have 3 catalogue items. Each one of these will ask a particular set of questions pertinent to the catalogue item selected. We can also keep it quite general. So a desktop support issue, it could, well, as you can see the description on the right hand side in the breadcrumb trail, get help or advice on your IT equipment or the IT equipment you use. So it's a very, very general service. So we'll keep with that one in this case, and we'll say there's a printing issue. Keep it simple. I'll just copy and paste that into the description as well. Again, I hope your customers are a bit more descriptive. Whoops. And I've already got it pasted. So as you can see, you can flip back on the breadcrumb trail on the right hand side. But as you can also see, it's one question at a time, very, very simple to use, very, very similar to, well, exactly the same as the self-service portal information gathering engine. So at that point, we know the customer, we know the service he's calling about, we know what he's calling about. At that point, we then have enough information to classify this particular request. So let's say it's a change. The decision-based system we saw on the administrative side will take the user down the route that the progressive capture has been set up by you. So in this case, if it's a change, we're asked to upload a document. If we say, no, this is an incident, we're asked to set a category. So the end user or the analyst will only ever see what they need to see based on their previous answer. We set the priority, and again, completely up to you what you want to ask and what you want to ask. There's a validation on the right hand side to see what's been asked and what's been answered. And in this case, there is a printing issue. So it could be something to do with Steve's laptop, so we can link Steve's laptop, but it could be a shared printer. So if I put finance printer, for example, link that one as well, which again is absolutely fine. So we've been asked and answered everything on the right hand side of the breadcrumb trail, and we come back with a reference number 201. We've prefixed this with IN for incident, but you can prefix that with whatever you want. It's completely up to you. And if we have a look at the ticket, again, very similar to the self-service, we have the heads up display to show the analyst exactly what's happened and exactly what needs to happen. So this is your fulfillment process. This is whatever process you want to happen when this particular catalog item is selected. And in this situation, the process has already automatically sent an email to the customer, assigned it to the first line support team, and set a priority. Because we've assigned it to the team, we can see it's in the first line support team, and everybody in that team will have a notification, as we saw at when we first logged in as Graham, and we have the resolve by time as set by the priority. We haven't allocated an analyst, so the system is actually prompting us to do that first, whoever picks this up first. So it's already in the first line group, and I'm logged in as Graham, so I'm picking this up as Graham. So that checkpoint has been ticked. We've been moved over to the second stage to resolve this issue, and we've been assigned a task to resolve this desktop issue. Now, unfortunately, we can't keep it completely automatic, so there is some manual intervention. So if we wanted to update this particular ticket, we have the text box, very standard, in the top left to update, and everything will go into the timeline in chronological order. But in the Supportworks world, again, a common issue was that people want to see screenshots. So in this case, Steve is reporting an issue. Graham says, I'm seeing this, Steve, is this what you see? If I print screen, I can then paste that screenshot directly into the update and say screenshots. And then Steve will be able to see that screenshot in the self-service or potentially on a mobile if he's out and about. So no downloading and uploading files and potentially wasting space on your local machine. Nowadays, we have resources that weren't necessarily available to us 20 years ago when Supportworks was created, i.e. Google. So what we can do with these custom buttons at the top is pass variables through from the record that we're looking at through to a resource like Google. So rather than having to open Google and just type in whatever the issue we're looking for is, we can simply press the button and that will go away and search Google for printing issue. And we got the standard Google items. Will this help Steve? If so, we can simply copy and paste. Another resource we have available now, which people tend to prefer nowadays, is the concept of YouTube. People might prefer to watch a video rather than read a long set of instructions or a PDF, whatever the case may be. So again, we can pass variables through to YouTube and say, printing issue, is there a video here that will help Steve? And this one here looks good. Have a quick watch. All right, Steve, have a watch of this. I think this will solve your problem. So we can take the abbreviated URL from the share button at the bottom, or we can take the long URL across the top. And again, we can paste that directly into the ticket, and Steve will be able to watch that on the self-service portal, or again, his mobile. That will play from the ticket. There's no clicking into other windows or other systems. So lots of options there. Very easy to use, I'm sure you'll agree. Lots of options across the top, and again, these are up to you what you want available per service, per call class, per service. So we can schedule a callback. We can call back Steve back at a particular time. We can attach files, and again, we can drag drop or go via the old-fashioned method of selecting the file. We can link requests. So if I know the request, I can simply add the reference number, but if I don't know the request, we can search through the entire request database. So if I wanted to find any VPN-related requests, there are lots. There's 29 in this particular case, all different call classes, so we can filter that back based on the type of request. So we want a problem and we want an open problem. Hit search again. We can also filter it back on the service, and I mentioned that, but in this case we have one open problem. Link that to the request, and because there is a workaround already published against this particular problem, a new icon called solution has appeared on the top there. So the analyst can check that solution. Is this the workaround for this customer? If so, give it to Steve. If not, we'll say, no, that's not actually the solution for us. So carrying along, we can send out emails, we can add in snippets. So this is very similar to the multi-clip in Supportworks, so standard sets of instructions or standard bits of text that we may email to many customers, we can simply paste in there. The only difference with Supportworks, we can share these via the service or potential teams as well, unlike Supportworks where they're all stuck in your personal mailbox. We can change the customer. All of these options, I must say, we can limit to only the team to see, or potentially even the owner of this ticket, rather than sharing it with the customer on the self-service portal. We can assign adding connections, so impacted customers, interested customers, or potentially a secretary on behalf of the CEO or anything like that. Escalate, look at the assets, look at the boards, which I'll come back to in a second. The solution we just touched on, resolve, cancel, that configuration explorer, and obviously print. So lots and lots of options across the top, and each situation it's completely up to you which options you want available per core class, per service. Now, Manish mentioned at the very top that this is based on a collaborative platform. So the first element of collaboration, in the Supportworks world, there are many other ways. If you wanted advice from someone else or another department or a subject matter expert, you can create a task and assign that task to someone else. You can assign the entire ticket across to that subject matter expert, in which case you might lose visibility of the ticket. You can still do both of those things, but we've complemented it with this third option of being able to drop in a subject matter expert. So in this case, we know that there's an issue with the VPN, but we might want to ask the change manager if she is aware of anything that's going on in the VPN world. So we can drop Rosemary in as a member. Now, because Rosemary is the change manager, Rosemary doesn't normally have the rights to see incidents, so her rights are only limited to changes. But because Graham has added her in as a member, her rights have been elevated automatically to this particular incident, so she can see this record. And because Graham has added Rosemary as a member, Graham can then tag Rosemary. Oops, can I spell Rosemary? Hey Rosemary. Rosemary can take a look at this. So we saw Rosemary was offline there via a status. That will go into the timeline in chronological order, and then Rosemary, when she gets in, she'll have a notification on the top right, or potentially she'll get a notification on her phone, and she can come in, have a look at the detail and comment on that and say, yeah, we know there's an issue with this. In this particular situation, the process has given us a task. It's automatically created a task for us to resolve this desktop issue. This task could potentially be going to a different team. There are lots of things we can do with this task. We can have it start on a particular time, due on a particular time. We can add a checklist. We can attach a file. The checklist I'm particularly fond of, so I'll show you that one. So let's say in this particular case, this task needs to go to networks. And we know as part of this task, networks needs to do 1 and 2. So I'd add a checklist of 1 and 2 in there. Networks can come in and say, right, we've done one of those 2 things. Close it, and then rather than having to chase networks for an update on how far through that task they are, Graham can simply see the progress bar that's created that they are halfway through, so he doesn't need to go looking for that information. That information is there for him to see. So there are a couple of other things I want to quickly touch on. First of all, the boards. Now, the boards are a visual representation of any particular area of your system. In this case, we've got a few examples. We've got the change management board. So these are all the changes that are currently in the change management process, regardless of status or assignment. This is a bird's eye view. So anybody could log in to this at any particular point in time, and the process will move each one of these changes across the board as appropriate. So we've split this up into the different stages of the change life cycle, and you can drag and drop all of these if you want to, but as I say, the process can take care of this for you. So at any point, anybody who wants to see the information can click in and see an accurate representation of where all the changes are in this change process. If we want to see all of Rosemary's changes, we can simply click on Rosemary at the top there, and the review limits to just Rosemary's changes if we want to. So very useful for possibly a senior manager who may not who wants to see the state of play. A service delivery manager, for example, you may have many different changes in process at any one time. So there's Harry Hornbill popping up to tell us about a new feature that's just been released. So obviously, Manish mentioned at the top, we have continuous deployments methodology, so there are new features being released all the time. So again, rather than bombarding customers with long sets of release notes and instructions, We have this colourful character popping out to say we can now use this particular feature in a different way. So in this case, sharing boards with multiple teams or individuals. And obviously it's just a quick note. We can read a bit further if we want, or we can say got it and carry on with our day-to-day business. So as I was saying, in this case this is a breach board. So that last board was running off the process. The process is automatically moving the changes across the board when we got to a particular stage. But in this case, this is running off the timer, the SLA that's being applied to each particular request. So we can see that these two changes have already breached. The ones that are going to breach in 30 minutes, the ones that are breaching in 2 hours, and the ones that are breaching today. We can see the owners for each of these tickets. So if I can click on that particular user, Brian, I think that was, sorry, Daniel. We can say one has breached, someone is breaching today. What's going on, Daniel? So it's a visual representation of any particular area of your business. And the collaborative core that Manish touched on at the very start, again, is the news feed. So this is what you first see when you first log into the system. And as Manish mentioned, what's happening is the information that the logged in user is interested in is coming to the logged in user. So you're already seeing Graham has an interest in change. So at the very top, we can see this new change has just been approved by the CAB. We can click into that request. We can see the details of that request. And then any comments about the request, again, are on the initial post. New major incident, Graham is following this particular incident, incident 93. So very similar to the watch calls list in Supportworks. An analyst, in this case, Graham, is following this particular ticket. He's not the customer, he's not the owner, but he has a vested interest in this particular incident for whatever reason. So very similar to the watch calls list, he's simply following it by clicking this follow button. So any updates to this ticket will be pushed to his news feed, again, all in chronological order. If I flip back, so we've got lots of options up here, new problems, people are commenting in their own language, and at the click of a button, we can see it in our language, whatever language that might be. Another change, people are asking questions, and as you may have noticed, all of these are grouped into subject areas. So we call these workspaces. So at the top, these are the workspaces that Graham is as a member of. So there could be hundreds of workspaces, but Graham is only a member of these workspaces because these are the areas that he is interested in. So a good example of this is first line FAQs. James is in the first line and he is asking a question. He's posted an image and saying, guys, my customer is getting this error. Does anybody know what's going on? People are coming back and answering that question in their native language, firstly. But in this case, we have two answers. And as Manish mentioned, this information, because it's being asked and answered in a natural way, it's here forevermore. So in a year's time, someone could have this exact same issue, come back, find this post, and we've got two answers to choose from. So which one should you go with? He'd probably go with the one that 4 people have liked and therefore validated that particular answer. So he'd probably go with Pablo's answer in a year or two's time if this situation comes up again. So as I mentioned, this information, once it's been written down, very easy, very natural to do so, it can then be reused. So rather than you guys having to constantly re-answer the same question, we can simply search for that. So Shrusoft VPN from that bottom post, I can put that as the global search at the top. That's always there. Hit search, and we have lots of posts related to Shrusoft VPN. So we can filter that back based on the time it was posted. So if I only want to see posts from the last month, I can. If I want to see posts from, I forget the user I've copied it from, but Graham, let's say, because he's a subject matter expert, I can. If I only wanted to see posts from a particular workspace, let's say first on FAQs, again, I can. So by searching on that, this is the post that we've literally just copied from. So very, very easy to find that information once it's in there. So as Manish mentioned, this is one side of the knowledge base in Service Manager. The other side is Document Manager, which is, I suppose, probably a bit closer to the knowledge base in Supportworks. But this is an area for more structured knowledge. If the collaborative bit was more unstructured knowledge, more tacit knowledge, as Manish likes to tell us, this is more for PDFs, Word documents. You can even create your own documents if you want. Each one of these documents can be grouped into libraries and collections, and then these libraries or collections can be shared with specific users or specific teams. If I click into one of these documents, you can see that each one is a collaborative object, if you will, so they can be shared with different users or teams, and each one of these users can be different rights. We can keep track of all the changes, all the comments against each one of these documents. So Rosemary has commented there, which made a couple of changes to this document and uploaded the final version. We can keep each one of these revisions of the document and then only publish the version we want to publish when we're ready. So this is actually getting rid of all those network shares where you're not 100% sure if that document is the latest, if you're not sure of the naming convention. It's all in this one central place with everybody can access it. We can keep tags against each one of these documents, and we can automatically group together groups of documents based on these tags. So if I wanted to search for process design or change management process and click on that, and there's our change management process. We've also introduced a new feature of a tag cloud, and this will group all of the tags against all of your documents in the system together in the cloud form. The ones that are used the most are shown the biggest, and then again each one of these we can click into. So our change management process is in the top left there, and there's our document again. So all of these icons, I think we briefly touched on most of them. Manish mentioned there are a couple of other applications that can be used in combination with Service Manager to leverage the benefits of Service Manager. Each one has its own features, but again, used in combination, it's a very, very powerful system. So I'm going to finish off now very quickly touching on the most important aspect of any service management system in the reporting. So we have the standard reporting suites, but we also have advanced analytics, which I'm going to very, very quickly touch on. First of all, we have the trending engine. So in a nutshell, we set a measure average time to resolve, incidents closed per month, incidents resolved outside a fix per month. We set a target, and then quite simply the system will go away and gather the information compared to your measure and give it to you in a nice graphical traffic light system. So obviously if it's red it's bad, if it's green it's good, and we don't have an example here, but if it's bang on the target it's amber. We have a spark line so we can see the rough trend of how each one of these measures are going, and once we have that, these measures built up, we can put them into widgets. A widget is a bit of information which we can then put onto a dashboard, and a dashboard can consist of many different types of widgets, but probably the best example, if I go into slideshow, showcase, this will string across a few different examples of dashboards and how we can use them, and this could be published on a screen above the service desk, or potentially because it's your URL we can share or we can grant access to a particular dashboard to a group or a user or a role so they can see them in their own time. I'm going to hand you back to Manish to finish off the presentation.
Thank you. Thanks, Connor. That was a great demo. So just a reminder, guys, please do continue to ask your questions. We will come to them at the end of the session. So just going to finish up now by looking at some of Hornbill's key differentiators, our commercial offering, and our Supportworks to Service Manager migration package. And of course, as I said, we'll take any questions at the end of the session. We've got an expert panel here today with Connor and our sales manager, Abdi Hamis, who's just joined us as well. So I wanted to share our core values as a company with you. First of all, customer first. We're committed to working with our customers and being responsive to your needs. Partnership through collaboration. We work in partnership with our customers and value your feedback, whether it's through our user groups, our forums, or any other interaction with us. Quality, not compromise. We aim to be world-class in everything we do, whether it's our people, our processes, and our technology. For the reason of quality, not compromise, we actually don't offer any fixed-term contract with Hornbill Service Manager, and I'll come on to that in a moment. So we want you to be 100% satisfied that this is the right system for you, whether it's your reporting requirements, your language requirements, your processes, whatever it may be. So for that reason, we're doing something quite different from other vendors in the market. We offer a 30-day satisfaction guarantee that's 100% risk-free. What does that mean? Well, you put us to the test. We'll give you your own instance of Service Manager free of charge for 30 days. You can try it out in your own environment, with your own data, with your own integrations. We'll assign a product specialist to you who will implement the system free of charge and configure the system the way you want it. As part of the implementation, the product specialist will train you up, again, free of charge, to give you the knowledge and expertise required to manage the system going forward. And at the end of the 30 days, the choice is yours. You can either start subscribing or you can walk away without obligation and move back to your current system, Supportworks. The point of this is to remove the risk from you, our customer, so that you can make an informed decision about whether this system is right for you. So how do Hornbill stand out from the crowd? Well, I mentioned earlier, this is a true cloud service rather than a traditional piece of on-premise software. What that means is you focus on service delivery and let us take care of the rest. There are no more upgrades, your customizations will keep on working, and you'll always be up to date with the latest features without service disruption. Price for life is a guarantee that we offer our customers, whereby the price that you sign up to will stay the same for the entire length of time you're a customer. What that means is you'll get automatic discounts over time through the effect of inflation, and you'll just continue getting more and more value from the system as we push out more and more features on the platform. Train for life is a guarantee whereby we will train up your solution champion as part of the implementation. If they leave the organization, if they retire, if they're promoted, whatever it may be, we will train up the replacement free of charge. And this will avoid the situation I mentioned earlier, whereby your solution champion or your administrator leaves the organization and it leaves a gap in knowledge on your service desk. And no contract tie-in. We want happy customers, not contractually bound customers. So for that reason, we offer a simple rolling contract which you can cancel at any time without any notice. And this goes back to my point about our core value, quality, not compromise. And customers always ask me, Manish, why do Hornbill do this? Well, it's simple. It forces us to ensure we're providing a great quality, great value service. Otherwise, you could just walk away. So how much does it cost? Whether it's a small team or a large team, we offer a simple, scalable pricing model, which starts at £42.50 per user per month, with a volume discount applied, so the more users you have, the lower the unit cost. This is just a selection of some of our customers that have migrated to Service Manager already. As you can see, they come from all sorts of sectors and industries. Two which I wanted to mention in particular. Firstly, Aylesbury Vale District Council, who migrated from Supportworks to Service Manager last year. They actually won the Best Small Service Desk Award at the recent SDI Awards. One of their key drivers to move to Service Manager was to move to an infrastructure-free environment. iDocs are a supplier of software and services to the UK public sector. They moved to Service Manager from Supportworks last year also. One of their key concerns was the migration of core data. As you can see, they actually migrated over 10,000. We migrated over 10,000 requests for them over the course of a weekend. So just to finish up now, we'll go over and beyond the free of charge 30-day migration and trial that I mentioned earlier for our Supportworks customers by migrating your core data over if you wish. We will also credit back any unused support and maintenance or subscription payments that you may have made. You qualify as long as you're an existing customer with an active contract. If you do wish to move forward, I would recommend contacting your relationship manager as soon as possible. There is limited availability as we're experiencing an extremely high demand right now, and it's worth noting that this free migration service that we've offered will be phased out at some point in the future. So please do move forward quickly if you're interested. So thank you everyone for your time today. We received various questions, which we will take now.
Yes, yeah, thank you very much. Lots of questions, in fact. So I will simply go from the top and say I've got Abdi, our sales manager here, which will help with the more commercial side of things, but I'm very happy to help with the more technical one. So first of all, how easy is it to create your own forms with fields that can be reported on? So first of all, any field can be reported on, and it's very, very easy to create your own forms. You can create them per service, per call class. So an incident form could gather many details compared to a service request form, which can only gather one or two, for example. The only restriction there is, unlike Supportworks, we can't add fields directly to the database, new columns directly to the database, but each table has at least 10 spare attributes, and obviously we can work with you to build what you need into the system. But obviously once it's there, it can easily be reported on. Moving down, my infrastructure team has asked if it uses ADFS for single sign-on, just so it's slicker than the current setup. Absolutely, yes it does. But we use SAML 2.0, so any kind of authentication service porting SAML 2.0, which is the standard authentication framework nowadays. Absolutely, so it's protocol, even not framework.
Yeah,
So
just to add to that, Connor, obviously there's fully documented on the wiki page as well. So if you have any questions around that, then search out Hornbill Wiki or wiki.hornbill.com, and you should find that.
One of the beautiful things about that as well, we don't need to punch a hole through the firewall to set that up. It's simply a trust between the cloud server and your ADFS server, so it's nice and easy to set up. But yes, it does. Can the reports be created without SQL knowledge? So there's 3 levels of reporting in Service Manager. There's the personal dashboards, which absolutely you can create whatever you want without any kind of SQL knowledge, a simple clause builder. The second is the standard reporting suite, which I'll be honest is a bit more in depth. You probably would need a bit of SQL knowledge, but again would help you with all this during the switch on to get the reports you need moving forward. And the third level is the advanced analytics, which is a slight premium. I think it's 200 extra a month per instance, so across the entire board. But again, it's very, very powerful. The trending engine is there, and you can build whatever widgets you want. But the dashboards are very, very useful. I'll be honest, most of our customers do use the personal dashboards because they are so simple to use, and they still give them the information that most of the time they need. If they want that extra power, we can go into the full reporting suite. And is the pricing based on concurrent users? Abdi, that's probably one.
Sure, I can take that one. So yeah, unlike Supportworks, obviously this is a cloud service, so the emphasis is really about being always connected and always up to date. So the subscriptions for Hornbill are actually based on a named subscription, and so for each user that needs to interact with the system, obviously needs to be subscribed. Just to clarify, in terms of the subscriptions, it's really straightforward like Supportworks. If you provide service, then you need to be a subscriber. If you don't, and you're actually a consumer of the service, i.e. coming in through the portal, then that's free. But obviously speak to your relationship manager and we'll be able to work out the ratio for you if you are moving from concurrent to a named subscription.
Okay, Ria, I've got another couple here from you, Abdi. We want to make the move to Service Manager, but my Supportworks renewal is due. What should I do?
Okay, that's a great question. So obviously we want you to be covered in the interim, so don't not renew. So Manish touched on it very briefly in the migration package that we're offering for any existing customers. Any unused or unspent maintenance and support will actually credit back to you at the point at which you actually make the shift. So if your maintenance is due, go ahead, renew. Be assured that obviously as soon as you're over to Service Manager that we'll actually credit back any unused maintenance to you.
Okay, we've got another couple. Well, we've only got a couple of minutes, so I'll try and get through as many as we can here, but any others, BRMs, we'll follow up with you guys afterwards. But do you offer customer directory update applications? So I'd imagine this is a link directly to Active Directory, in which case, yes, there are 3 ways. We can set up a scheduled import, so very similar to Supportworks. A script will sit on your server, on your network, gather the information from your data source, in this case Active Directory, encrypt it and fire it across to the cloud. And obviously you guys, it's on your service, you guys can schedule that for however often you want. We can import via CSV, which again is completely in your control. We'll give you a template, you populate that as often as you want and simply upload it through the app. Or the third option is via the single sign-on that we've talked about just a minute ago. You can have auto provisioning, so each time a user authenticates against their single sign-on Active Directory, it will gather their latest information and push that to Service Manager. So there's 3 ways of keeping customers up to date, but absolutely we can, and that's a standard thing. That's not a specific application. That's all part of the switch on as well. And last one is probably one for you, Abdi. When do you plan to phase out the free migrations?
We have quite high demand at the moment around the migration. So, one of our commitments is to continue to do the free switch-ons. So, indefinitely we'll provide the free switch-on aspect, but in terms of being able to migrate data and provide the credit on the support maintenance, that's something that probably will be phased out towards the back end of this year. So, again, high demand and proven that we have a lot of customers that want to come across. So if you are interested, please do speak to your RM in the short term. Excellent. So if I can take the opportunity to thank Manish and Connor for their time today, great presentation, and we'll hand back to Sarah, who's going to wrap up for you.
Thank you, Manish and Connor, for taking us through that presentation. I hope everyone found it useful. If you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to contact me or your relationship manager. Finally, thank you everyone for your time today. Goodbye.